The Marvel Snap Infinite meta is always a wild place. You want to know, what are the decks I should be playing? What are decks I should be on the lookout for? Should I pick up Fantomex and Aurora? You've got questions, we've got answers. Welcome to Marvel Snap Meta Shenanigans. Let's dive into the data so you can know exactly what you need to crush the Infinite Ladder or Infinity Conquest. Hey everybody, Kicker of Elves here. Hope you're all having a fantastic day today. Welcome back to Marvel Snap Meta Shenanigans, the show where we take a look at how the top Infinite players are shaping the overall Marvel Snap meta using untapped premium data so you can understand what are the top decks being played, what should I be playing, or what should I be playing around. We also look at our recent Series 5 card performance as well as the Season Pass card performance, cap things off with some deck recommendations from yours truly, and for the real ones who stick around through the end, we take a look at a little piece of Kicker of Elves lore, so stick around for that. Also, we do our weekly viewer card of the week segment, so if you want to get your card checked out on the show next week, please leave a comment below. It can be any card that you want me to analyze and take a look at using untapped premium data, and the comment with the most likes wins. So without further ado, let's talk about some of the top win rate decks. So for this data set, I'm now looking at Infinite only, trying to filter by win rate with decks that have over 1,000 games to help with the sample size, and looking at player collection level 24,000. This is a little bit different from previous episodes, but by setting the player collection level, at least for this episode, we'll see how it goes, to 24,000 plus. We're looking at players who are likely close to or around collection complete, or at least competitively complete. Maybe if they're not a discard player and they're not picking up Colonel America, but these are players who are not going to be constrained by missing some cards. So these decks being at the top here, not a huge surprise. I believe this was cooked up by Honifer. I don't know who did this, but this is a very, not to be dismissive, but just calling it what it is, tech sloppy sort of deck. We've got Luke Cage, we've got Shadow King, we've got Anti-Venom with the Luke Cage package, we've got Elektra even in there, Gladiator stuff. We don't have a Fenris Wolf. When I first heard about this deck, I was like, what the heck is going on here? But then when I actually tried it out, this deck feels very strong. This looks a little bit on face like a random pile, but this plays incredibly well. The Surprise Legion action, again, Anti-Venom with Luke Cage feels incredible. So if you are pulling out a Legion or a higher cost card, it can end up feeling very strong. Iron Patriot stapling things together. Malekith has tons of good hits with a Lizard, with a Luke Cage, with a Hydra Bob, with even a Gladiator underneath there. It can feel incredible. Stardust is going to shut down Nimrod gamers, Hella gamers, all sorts of stuff. This is a very respectable deck for you to check out. Number 2 with the win rate, and it's pretty much neck and neck, like a 0.2% difference on the win rate from the top deck over here, the Honifer list, is the Werewolf by Night, like Merlin tech package, just another sort of tech sloppy deck here. I love this deck. I recently did a deck guide on it. Personally, I think you could cut Red Guardian for Prowler and Mobius if you're not seeing a ton of Mr. Negative, for example, for a card like Shang-Chi or Juggernaut to help with the ramp matchup. I think next week when we get Xiao Lao, the new season pass card, we can probably cut Sentry and Annihilus, bring in Xiao Lao, and then, if bring Prowler in just full stop along with this list, or bring in another 3-cost tech card. I think that's going to be very strong for this. I freaking love this list. I love the Deafening Chord Shadow King combo. I love moving my Werewolf around and doing a lot of spell swinging with Merlin. Fantastic list. I think this is coming from Sizer originally. Absolutely recommend you play this. Then, of course, we've got I believe this is the exact 12 cards that won KM Best Tournament, this Ramp list. Super fun deck. I will say that Ramp plays more like combo than you might feel. If you don't like, let's say, Mr. Negative decks, there's going to be times where it's like, oh, I have Ebony Maw, Enchantress, Galactus, First Steps, and on turn 2 I drew the Infinite, and turn 3 I drew Cosmic Ghost Riders. If they snap, you kind of just have to dip. If you don't like those play patterns, maybe don't invest too much in Chamber really is only good in these kinds of lists. Yeah, I think this is a phenomenal list, but maybe is not the absolute tip top if you don't enjoy that. Number 4 over here, and I'm really happy to see Aurora getting some love. We'll talk about Aurora on her own in just a minute, looking at a broader set of data. But in this high collection level setting, I think this list came from Safety Blade. She is doing quite well. Number 4 deck in terms of win rate. And what she's really doing, I believe this is KM Best who said this, is like, you look at these cards here, the other 11, there's not really a lot of synergy going on. They're just kind of good cards that do stuff. You got your Kate Bishop arrows, Herbie, Sam Wilson's amazing, Juggernaut stuff. There's not really a lot of inherent synergy here. It's just kind of a pile. But then Aurora retroactively gives all of these cards synergy and ties them together by making sure you're spreading all the different archetypes across the board, different card techs, and just being like, I give everything +2. That changes the math on Marvel Snap in a huge way. I think it's really cool how Aurora is doing that. So these are the top 4 decks, just super quick for some visual here. You've got the high Evo deck that we covered last time, still putting up some good numbers. If this is a cheaper deck, if you don't have Warlock, you could always bring in Cyclops. And then can't forget about Fastball Special, Kid Omega Nimrod stuff. The list that we covered from Smiles swapped out Symbiote Spider-Man and Wong for Nico and Aranya. But yeah, these are some pretty respectable decks. You'll have a great time running any of these depending on your taste. Let's go over and talk about last week's Series 5 card release, which was Aurora. And on the whole, she's not doing incredible. This is based on people just pool 3+, rank 100+. I think the larger player base is still struggling to make her work. Again, as we just covered, there is at least one very good deck right here that I think is very worth playing. But this data set is looking at just players who are 24,000+. Those are likely players who've been playing since launch. I think the general populace who picked this up, largely on the back of the hype, this was going to be a Thanos card. I felt this was also going to be a Thanos card. She's not a Thanos card. Thanos is just not in a great place. Are currently struggling to make her work. But if you have the cards in the list over here, or if you have the Wiccan version, I think that Chamo has been running. We'll cover that in a moment. Aurora might be worth it. She is not at the tip top of the meta, but this is a very respectable card. Now, at the time of recording this, our latest Series 5 card released was Fantomex. He's been out for just about 2 days, and boy, is this card not doing great. I just did a review of him on the channel yesterday, so I won't fully rehash that. You can go check that out if you want my in-depth thoughts on Fantomex. This is not a horrible card. This is a fine or an all right or a decent card. It's a 2 out of 5 in my opinion. But if you have limited resources, you really have to ask yourself, is it worth investing in a card that's a 2 out of 5 stars when there are every other card released this month is better? I think the early data is not surprising to see this well. I think the discard and destroyed archetype needs at least 1 or 2 more cards for it to be a real thing. I saw a suggestion that maybe Sabretooth get changed to be discarded or destroyed. That could help. It needs some help. This is not it right now. Do not pick up Fantomex if you don't have him. Another card that's doing just about as bad as Fantomex is our Season Pass card. This is going to be our last episode, I believe, where we're talking about Weapon X Wolverine is one of our Season Pass cards. And yeah, I just can't believe that they haven't buffed this card at a 46.3% win rate and a negative 0.19 cube rate. This is literally Wolverine. This is their second Wolverine card, and it's doing terrible. Maybe the second dinner data says that at lower collection levels, this card's actually great. Maybe this feels fantastic to throw into Destroy if you're a new player and you don't have cards like Death and Null and Venom. I think Venom Series 3. All of these cards that longer term players just sort of take for granted. Maybe this card feels fantastic and is an enticing card to bring players in. I hope so, because the stats for the last 7 days, players pool 3+ and Infinite is frankly horrible. I can't believe I didn't buff them in the OTA before they left, but that's where we're at right now. Our Super Premium Season Pass card, Adamantium Infusion, on the other hand, finally on the upswing. I think last week it was a little bit lower than this, but as we predicted here, and as many people predicted, with the release of Fastball Special, Adamantium Infusion feels like a real card. Fastball Special, Nimrod, Black Panther stuff, and then bringing it back with Adamantium Infusion, or doing it in the reverse, bringing back a huge Nimrod with Adamantium Infusion and Fastball Specialing it, feels incredible. This is still not a card that's going to be going into a wide variety of decks. This isn't a Merlin. This isn't an Iron Patriot. This isn't a good stuff card. This isn't a look at going back over to the top win rate decks. You look at this deck. This looks like a good stuff deck. Aurora is kind of a synergy piece on top of a good stuff deck. Adamantium Infusion is not going in there. Adamantium Infusion is going in Phoenix Force and Nimrod Resurrection lists. But with Fastball Special, it does feel like a real card, and I am quite happy to see that. So let's jump over to our viewer card of the week. Again, if you want to get your card looked into, analyzed on the show, please leave a comment below just saying what card you want to check, and the comment with the most likes will be looked at next week. This week's comment comes from the Nor VIG. Shout out to Nor. I see him commenting all the time. And he simply just said, Cerebro. So let's take a look at Cerebro. For this data set, we're just looking at game count for an Infinite Plus, which is all about infinite data only. We want to see what's going on at the top rank of the game. Looking at Pool 3 Plus collection level. And Cerebro, this is a world champ deck, and it's not... It kind of had its moment in the sun. It's still a very good deck. I like Cerebro in concept because it is a very cheap deck if you are a returning or a new player. My little brother came back to the game after taking like almost a 2-year break from the game. He came back like late October, early November, and he was able to cruise to Infinite in the November season with Cerebro 3, even though he didn't have Bastion, he didn't have Chameleon. I think it's great that we have decks that can do that aren't Series 3 approachable, that aren't Hela, for example. But a lot of people are kind of annoyed by Cerebro's play patterns, but it is not around right now. Cerebro 4, again, we're looking at the sample size here is much lower at like 200, so like 50 games a piece on each of these, and 50 wins could turn the data around a lot. But the Cerebro 4 list is not doing so hot, where this is really like a stealth Cerebro 6 list where you're trying to like space things around to use Aurora on the last turn. I think it's cute in concept, but clearly not coming through. If you want to play Cerebro, you should absolutely be playing Cerebro 3. Lists like this where you're doing Bastion, Chameleon on top of the Cerebro. That's really like Chameleon, I feel like, is in here to be a backup Mystique. On turn 6, you play Cerebro Chameleon. Bada boom, you've got your buff. Bastion, if you're able to pop that off. If you're able to Cerebro on 3, Mystique on 4, and then Bastion that location on 5, you are freaking golden. I full disclosure, I am not a big Cerebro gamer. If I was going to become a Cerebro gamer, I would probably, to the surprise of no one that's watched this channel a good amount, want to check out this particular list over here, the the Omega Sentinel Jocasta. The ability to do Jocasta Omega Sentinel stuff on top of being a Cerebro deck is appealing to me. But yeah, there's tons of different lists. I mean, there's slight variations here. Like this list is running, what's it doing? It's got Quake in here instead of Chameleon. Chameleon's kind of a strange pick, but yeah, lots of Cerebro 3. There's one Cerebro 2 list still running Storm. I think they need to revert the Storm nerf, bring back Storm as a 3/2. The Storm War Machine Legion stuff is dead and buried, even if some sickos are trying to blink cards into trying to still do that with blink shenanigans. Cerebro 2, this is still like the default list. It's fine, but if you want to play Cerebro in this day and age, you should be checking out these lists. So overall thoughts on the meta right now, I think we're in a pretty healthy place. We've got a variety of different decks. I think the Techpocalypse impact has been greatly overstated. What that Techpocalypse really was nuking Shang-Chi and Enchantress from the majority of decks. We've still got plenty of tech cards that are relevant. Shadow King and Deafening Chord are like the defining cards of this metagame. Aurora's getting a little bit of love. And yeah, there's plenty of different ways to go through that. So what decks do I recommend you playing? What should you check out? Let's jump back over into the game client so you can see what we're recommending there. See you in a second. Okay, all right, let's talk about a couple of the decks I think you should be playing into the current metagame. If you are a werewolf gamer, I strongly recommend checking out, this is that tech deck that we were talking about. That was the number 2 list on the top win rate decks. As you can see in here, I have swapped out Mobius for a Prowler and a Red Guardian for a Juggernaut to help with the matchups into cards like into decks like Ramp. I just wasn't seeing a lot of use from Red Guardian or Mobius, and I'm a big Prowler believer. I mean, just look at this glorious variant with the Penny Arcade background that I used on here. Love this card. So that's what I wanted to bring in here. If you like Werewolf Merlin stuff, but you want to be a little bit off the beaten path, Strongly recommend you check out the Spellslinger deck that I picked up from Not My Dance. Placed top 10 in KM Best recent tournament. Did a deck guide this as well. I'll include links in the description to the deck guides, and some of these lists were applicable. And yeah, this feels fantastic. Nicholas Scratch can feel like a meme, but this deck makes him feel real with the amount of spells that we're doing and throwing out there with Joaquin Torres. The criticism of the zombie package with the prevalence of Shadow King, in fact, we're running our own freaking Shadow King, is that zombies die to Shadow King quite easily. Well, they can only Shadow King one location unless they're doing Absorbing Man stuff, which is a wild use of 7 energy. Between Nick Scratch, Werewolf by Night, a giant zombie horde, and a giant zombie giant man, their Shadow King's only going to take them so far. We also don't have a ton of vulnerability to Deafening Chord, and for cards that are Deafening Chorded, we're happy to once and future them or polymorph them away with Merlin. This is an extremely fun list. This is not a meme list. Websling could be hood if you don't have Websling. I'm not 100% sold on Websling, but super duper fun. If you like the ramp stuff, if you want to be a ramp gamer, totally fine. This is probably the 7 cards that are the best to use right now. This one KM Best tournament. We got this ramp. Ramp is a tech deck in a lot of ways. Legion, Cosmic Ghost Rider, Enchantress, doing some techie things, some scammy stuff with Legion especially. I'm not just showing off this variant. No, that's not what I'm doing. So those are all wonderful. Again, the tech sloppy list there. This is fine. I haven't played a ton of this. It is a real deck. You could play this, but I don't know how long for this world this deck really is, or if you're not better off just doing Merlin Werewolf stuff. Still, fastball special, that variation. This could be fun if you want to do combo-y stuff, if you want to go over the top of ramp. If you're fine leaving where you don't, if you don't draw stuff in the right order, this is all very legitimate things to be doing. And yeah, I think that's a quick rundown. Oh, real quick, showing a lot of decks here, but Chamo Aurora. This is Chamo, I'm probably mispronouncing that. His spin on the Aurora list that we covered in the top win rate decks. He's doing Wiccan stuff where, we've got Quicksilver, Wiccan, a lot of the same cards here. But if we're able to, we've got Silver Surfer First Steps, a really cool card in this list. It has so many good targets in terms of Iron Patriot, Wiccan, or of course my favorite here, copying Aurora. If you are spreading +4 power to all cards on the board turn 6, you're probably going to win that game. So this is a cool spin if you're trying to be an Aurora gamer. Okay, with that, for those of you who've stuck around to the end, just want to say thanks so much here. We're going to jump over and do a little bit of Kicker of Elves lore. What do I mean by that? Well, as you can see, I've got my my little shelf back here. I'm trying to move so you can see it. This is decent decoration since I started doing YouTube video, but I've actually had this set up for quite some time. It just has a bunch of things that, pieces of media that I care quite a bit about. And we're just going to grab a little something off the shelf and talk about it to close things out. Just a little bit of Kicker of Elves lore. So let me just wheel myself over to the wall and I'll be right back. All right. Today our relic from the shelf is this game right here. This is Sengoku Basara 4 Sumeragi. This is basically, as you can see, this is entirely in Japanese. I actually picked this up on a trip to Japan in Akihabara. Did this pre-pandemic, and this is basically, if you ever played any of the Dynasty Warriors games, these are the Dynasty Warriors games, but completely insane. I grew up playing a lot of Dynasty Warriors. I think those games get criticized for being mindless, but this is like, I wish these games were made in the US or were imported. This is all in Japanese. If you get this, I remember playing this and putting my phone up to Google Translate the screen to understand what's going on. It's doing stuff where your character will turn into a half naked casino man, and he's just going around throwing coins. Or you can turn into a giant spider bomb tank, and I love the insanity of it. I think that it is very, if you like Diablo, Path of Exile, ARPG style stuff, I think it is great that this game took it into just the logical, completely insane conclusion. And I wish these would still be made in the US. I haven't played a regular Dynasty Warriors game in forever, but a very, very good friend of mine back in college, his roommate had I think the last one of these that was done in English. And I remember playing it being why aren't the Dynasty Warriors games like this? This is completely insane. Yeah, Dynasty Warriors you're fighting 1,000 guys, but it's all very kind of muted. This was so anime flashing over the top that when I went to Japan, I was I need to pick this up. I need to make sure I bring this back. And even though I don't have a PlayStation plugin right now, I still hold on to this. Um, I love this, the sticker on the front, like the receipt on there, totally doesn't ruin the box art. But yeah, completely insane. If any of you have played Sengoku Basara or any of the Dynasty Warrior style spin-off games, definitely hit me with some nostalgia. Who was your favorite character in those games? That was for my fellow millennials, zennials, or even some Gen X folk out there, boomer folk watching. You probably have played some Dynasty Warrior. I would love to hear your thoughts on that. So with that, just want to say thanks so much for watching. Again, please leave a comment letting me know what card you want to see on next week's viewer card segment. Comment with the most likes wins. And yeah, try to do this a little bit quicker than the last time. Still love to ramble, but want to condense this to see if I can get this out to more people. Love doing this show. Please hit that subscribe button. We are getting so close to our 1,000 sub goal. It's going to help us join the Marvel Snap Creator Program. Been a dream of mine for the past 3 years, and we're getting so close to making it a reality. Thank you all so much for the support. Hit that sub button, leave a comment, like the video. I've been Kicker of Elves. This has been Marvel Snap Meta Shenanigans episode 4, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.